Memories, captured in time, frozen smiles, moments we hold dear. But what if those memories held something sinister, something lurking in the background, something you never noticed before? This is a story about a couple and the chilling discovery that haunted their past. John and Mary, high school sweethearts, married for 25 years, always cherished their photos, a visual chronicle of their love story. They decided to take a trip down memory lane. Little did they know that lane led to a dark and twisted place. It began innocently with a chuckle. "Look at you two," Mary laughed. "So young and carefree." John smiled, pointing at a figure in the background. "Who is that?" he asked. Mary squinted. "I don't know," she replied. "Maybe a neighbor?" They shrugged it off, continued flipping through the pages. But then another photo, and another. The man, always there, lurking in the shadows. Weddings, graduations, vacations. He was in every single photo. A silent observer to their happiest moments. Fear crept in, replacing their laughter. Who was this man? And why was he stalking their memories? They showed the photos to family and friends. No one recognized him. No one could explain his presence. The mystery deepened. John and Mary were left with more questions than answers. Who was this man? Why was he in their photos? And what did he want? This is just the beginning of a mystery that will haunt you. The man first appeared in photos from their childhood. John and Mary didn't know him, didn't recognize him, but there he was, a shadowy figure, always on the edge of their lives. At first they dismissed it, a coincidence, a trick of the light, an extra in the background of their childhood memories. They had no reason to suspect anything more. But as they delved deeper into their photo albums, a pattern emerged. The man was always there, watching, waiting. His presence, a constant in their ever-changing lives. John and Mary started to feel uneasy. A chill ran down their spines as they realized the extent of his presence in their past. They tried to rationalize it. Maybe he lived in their town, maybe he was just a familiar face. They didn't remember. They convinced themselves it was nothing. Life went on, they graduated, they fell in love, they got married, the photos continued. And so did he, the man in the background, a silent, unsettling presence. Friends and family looked at the photos, shrugged, and offered explanations. It's just a coincidence, you're imagining things. Don't worry about it. But John and Mary couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Years passed, their family grew. They celebrated birthdays, anniversaries, and vacations, and in every photo, he was there. The man in the background, a haunting reminder of a mystery they couldn't solve, a mystery that was starting to consume them. The more they looked, the more they saw. His presence became unavoidable, inexplicable. John and Mary realized they were dealing with something far more sinister than they could have ever imagined. The mystery deepened. John and Mary, determined to find answers, decided to reach out to their past, to those who shared their memories. They dug out old home videos, contacted distant relatives, and reached out to childhood friends hoping to jog someone's memory. Someone must know this man, someone must have seen him. They spent hours on the phone, sending emails, scouring social media. Their search became an obsession, consuming their every waking moment. But their efforts were met with dead ends. No one recognized the man, no one remembered seeing him. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. John and Mary couldn't understand how an individual could be so present in their lives, yet remain completely invisible to everyone else. They started to question their own sanity. Was it possible they were imagining things? Had their minds played a cruel trick on them? No, they refused to believe it. The man was real. They had seen him with their own eyes in countless photographs, spanning decades. They had to find him. They had to know who he was and what he wanted. John, a man of logic and reason, dove headfirst into research. He scoured online forums, consulted with experts, explored every possible avenue. He investigated facial recognition software, studied old town records, even delved into the world of private investigators. Mary, always the pragmatist, focused on organizing their ever-growing collection of clues. She meticulously cataloged every photo, every detail. She searched for patterns, connections, anything that could lead them to the identity of the mysterious man. Despite their relentless efforts, John and Mary hit dead end after dead end. The man in the photos remained an enigma, a phantom from their past. Their obsession took a toll on their lives, on their relationship, on their sanity. They argued, they doubted themselves, they questioned everything they thought they knew about their lives, about their memories. Was the man a figment of their imagination, a cruel joke, or something far more sinister? Just when they were about to give up hope, a breakthrough. John and Mary, desperate for a break, decided to take a chance, on a long shot. They hired a forensic sketch artist. Working from their memories, from dozens of photographs, the artist, slowly, methodically, brought the man to life. The resemblance was uncanny, chilling, as if the man himself was in the room with them, staring back at them with those cold, empty eyes. The sketch was a tangible manifestation of their nightmare, a constant reminder that he was real, he was out there, and they were no closer to finding him. Armed with the sketch, John and Mary expanded their search. They uploaded it to online databases, missing persons websites, even amateur sleuthing forums. The online community was intrigued, theories abounded, some dismissed it as a hoax, others offered potential leads, possible sightings, names. John and Mary followed every lead, every whisper, every rumor. They chased down dead ends, false hopes, and cruel pranks. But then, a message arrived, from a stranger, someone who recognized the face from the sketch. A name, a location, a glimmer of hope in their long, dark search. The lead took them across state lines, to a small town nestled in the mountains, a place forgotten by time. They showed the sketch to locals, asked questions, but their inquiries were met with blank stares, shakes of the head, and a wall of silence. It was as if the town itself was hiding something, protecting a secret that no one wanted to uncover. Days turned into weeks. The trail ran cold. The lead, like all the others, led to nowhere. John and Mary returned home, defeated, no closer to understanding the mystery that had consumed their lives. The search for the man in the photos had taken its toll on John and Mary, on their marriage, on their sanity. John, once a rational man, now saw the man everywhere, in every shadow, every reflection, every stranger's glance. Mary, once full of life, now lived in a perpetual state of fear, afraid to answer the door, afraid to look at photographs, afraid of her own memories. Their once unbreakable bond, now strained to the breaking point. The man in the photos had driven a wedge between them, threatening to tear their lives apart. In a last-ditch effort to find answers, John and Mary agreed to share their story with the world. Their story, once a private nightmare, became a media sensation. Broadcast on news channels, shared on social media, debated on forums. Millions of eyes now scrutinized their photos, their lives, their story, hoping for a clue, an answer, anything that could solve the mystery of the man in every photo. But as the world watched, one question remained: would they ever discover the truth? Or would the man in the photos forever haunt their lives? Weeks turned into months. The investigation stalled. John and Mary, exhausted and defeated, tried to move on. But the mystery lingered, a shadow over their lives. One day, while sorting through old belongings, John stumbled upon a crumpled receipt. A storage unit rented years ago, long forgotten. What was in that unit? Could it hold the answers they so desperately sought? The possibility, however slim, was enough to rekindle a flicker of hope. With a mix of trepidation and cautious optimism, John and Mary decided to visit the storage facility. They hoped, against all odds, that within that cold, impersonal space, they might find something, anything, that could lead them to the truth. The storage unit was a time capsule, a silent witness to the passage of years. It stood there, untouched, like a forgotten relic of a bygone era. Filled with relics of their past, each item held a story, a fragment of a life once lived. The air was thick with nostalgia, and the scent of aged wood and paper lingered. Furniture draped in dust sheets like ghosts of the past stood silently, each piece a testament to the lives that had once filled the room with laughter and love. Boxes overflowing with forgotten memories, each one a Pandora's box of emotions waiting to be unleashed. They were filled with trinkets, mementos, and keepsakes, each with its own tale to tell. The air thick with the weight of time, dust particles danced in the beams of light that pierced through the darkness. It was as if the room itself was alive, breathing in the memories of the past. As they sifted through the contents, their hearts grew heavy with each discovery. Every item they touched seemed to whisper secrets of a time long gone, evoking a sense of longing and melancholy, each item a reminder of a happier time, a time when life was simpler and filled with joy. The objects were not just things, they were pieces of their history, fragments of their identity. A time before the mystery, before the shadows crept into their lives. The photographs captured moments of pure happiness, frozen in time, untouched by the sorrow that would come later. Before the man in the photos cast a shadow over their lives, his presence a dark cloud that loomed over their memories. Who was he, and what secrets did he hold? Then, nestled in a corner beneath a pile of old blankets, John spotted it. A small, leather-bound box, its surface worn and its edges frayed. It seemed to call out to him, begging to be opened, its clasp tarnished with age. The box held an air of mystery. What secrets lay within? What stories were waiting to be uncovered? And inside, a treasure trove of memories, faded photographs, capturing moments long forgotten, handwritten letters, each word a testament to the emotions of the past. And a small, worn-out diary, its pages yellowed with age. It was a window into the soul of its owner, a glimpse into their innermost thoughts and feelings. Belongings of Mary's late mother, a woman whose life was shrouded in mystery. Her possessions were more than just objects, they were pieces of a puzzle waiting to be put together. A woman known for her love of photography and her penchant for keeping secrets. Her legacy was hidden in the pages of that diary, in the photographs she took, and in the memories she left behind. Mary's breath caught in her throat. She had always known there were secrets buried in her family's past, but she never imagined they would be revealed in such a dramatic fashion. The diary she held in her hands was more than just a collection of old memories. It was a portal to a time she had never experienced, a time when her mother was young and full of dreams. This diary, a relic from her childhood, held within its fragile pages a part of her mother she never knew. Each page was a window into her mother's soul, revealing thoughts and feelings that had been hidden away for decades. Mary felt a deep connection to the words, as if her mother was speaking to her from beyond the grave, a part she had long yearned to uncover. The more she read, the more she realized how little she truly knew about the woman who had raised her. Her mother's life was a tapestry of emotions, woven with threads of joy, sorrow, love, and loss. Mary felt a pang of regret for not having asked more questions when her mother was alive. As Mary delved deeper into her mother's words, she was transported back to her childhood. Memories she had long forgotten came flooding back, each one tinged with a new understanding. She could almost hear her mother's voice, soft and comforting, as she read the diary entries. It was as if her mother was right there beside her, guiding her through the past. The diary entries painted a vivid picture of her mother's life. They were filled with detailed descriptions of everyday events, as well as profound reflections on love, fear, and hope. Mary was struck by the depth of her mother's thoughts and the beauty of her words. It was clear that her mother had been a complex and passionate woman, far more than the simple housewife Mary had always imagined. Her joys, her fears, her secrets, each entry was a piece of a puzzle slowly coming together to form a complete picture of her mother's life. Mary felt a sense of awe and reverence as she read, knowing that she was privy to her mother's most intimate thoughts and feelings. It was a gift she would treasure forever. And then, a name jumped out at her. It was a name she had never heard before, yet it seemed to hold a great significance. Mary felt a chill run down her spine as she stared at the name, circled repeatedly in faded ink. Who was this person, and what role had they played in her mother's life? A name circled repeatedly in faded ink. The more she looked at it, the more it seemed to pulse with a life of its own. Mary couldn't shake the feeling that this name was the key to unlocking a mystery that had haunted her family for generations. She knew she had to find out more, no matter what it took. A name that sent a shiver down her spine. It was as if the name itself carried a dark and ominous energy. Mary felt a sense of foreboding as she continued to read, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew she was on the brink of discovering something monumental, something that could change everything she thought she knew about her family. A name that whispered a chilling possibility. Could this be the key to unlocking the mystery that had haunted them for so long? Mary felt a surge of determination. She had to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be. She owed it to her mother, and to herself, to uncover the secrets that had been buried for so long. Could this be the key to unlocking the mystery that had haunted them for so long? The name belonged to a man her mother had known, a man who had played a significant role in her mother's life, yet had vanished without a trace. Mary felt a deep sense of curiosity and urgency. She had to find out who this man was and why he had been so important to her mother. The name belonged to a man her mother had known, a man who had been a part of her mother's life in a way that Mary could only begin to imagine. She felt a pang of jealousy mixed with a deep sense of longing. Who was this man, and what had he meant to her mother, a man her mother had known, a man she had loved? The diary entries spoke of a deep and passionate love, a love that had been cut short by circumstances beyond their control. Mary felt a lump in her throat as she read the words, feeling her mother's pain and longing as if it were her own. A man she had loved, a man who had vanished from their lives without a trace. The diary entries hinted at a tragic and mysterious end, leaving Mary with more questions than answers. She knew she had to find out what had happened to this man, and why he had disappeared so suddenly. A man who had vanished from their lives without a trace. A man who, according to her mother's diary, bore a striking resemblance to the man in the photos. Mary felt a sense of urgency and determination. She had to uncover the truth, no matter what it took. She owed it to her mother and to herself to solve the mystery that had haunted their family for so long. A man who, according to her mother's diary, bore a striking resemblance to the man in the photos. Mary knew that this was just the beginning of her journey. She had to follow the clues, piece together the puzzle, and uncover the truth about her mother's past. It was a daunting task, but she was ready to face it head on. The answers were out there, waiting to be discovered. Tucked within the pages of the diary was a photograph. It was an old sepia-toned image, slightly worn at the edges, hinting at its age and the many hands it had passed through. The photograph seemed to hold a story of its own, a silent witness to events long past. A young man with piercing blue eyes and a mischievous grin. His eyes seemed to sparkle with secrets, and his grin hinted at a world of mischief and charm. This was no ordinary photograph, it was a window into a moment frozen in time. A man who, despite the passage of time, sent a chill down John and Mary's spines. It was him. The recognition was instant and undeniable. The shock on their faces was a testament to the impact this man had on their lives. The man from the photos, the same enigmatic figure who had appeared in the background of so many family pictures, always lurking, always watching. His presence was a dark shadow over their happiest moments, the man who had haunted their lives for years. His image was a constant reminder of a past they could never escape. Each photograph was a piece of a puzzle they had never been able to solve. But this wasn't just a random stranger. This was someone who had been intricately woven into the fabric of their family's history, someone whose presence had left an indelible mark. This was someone Mary's mother knew, someone she had loved. The photographs told a story of a deep connection, a bond that had once been filled with love and passion. The diary entries revealed a love affair, a romance that had been both beautiful and tragic. The words on the pages were filled with emotion, painting a vivid picture of a relationship that had been both exhilarating and fraught with tension. A passionate yet tumultuous relationship. The highs were incredibly high, filled with moments of pure joy and love, but the lows were equally intense, marked by arguments, jealousy, and heartbreak. And then, a chilling entry, a fear expressed, a premonition perhaps. The words took on a darker tone, filled with anxiety and dread. It was as if Mary's mother had sensed that something terrible was about to happen. Mary's mother wrote of the man's possessiveness, his jealousy, his unpredictable nature, and then silence. The entries became sporadic, the tone more desperate. It was clear that the relationship had taken a dangerous turn. The diary entries stopped abruptly, as if the story had been cut short. The sudden end was jarring, leaving a void that was filled with unanswered questions and lingering fears. As if the story had been cut short, as if the pen had fallen from her mother's hand. The abruptness of the ending was haunting, suggesting that something had happened to prevent her from continuing, as if the pen had fallen from her mother's hand, leaving the mystery of the man's disappearance unanswered. Or had it? The silence was deafening, the lack of closure unsettling, leaving the mystery of the man's disappearance unanswered. Or had it? John and Mary exchanged puzzled looks, their minds racing with possibilities. The diary had opened a door to the past, but it had also left them with more questions than answers. John and Mary stared at each other, the blood draining from their faces. The realization was sinking in. Could this man, this ghost from the past, still be alive? The thought was both terrifying and intriguing. Could this man, this ghost from the past, still be alive? And if so, what was he capable of? The questions hung in the air, heavy with implications. The past was not as distant as they had thought, and if so, what was he capable of? The possibilities were endless and frightening. John and Mary felt a chill run down their spines as they realized that the answers they sought might be more dangerous than they had ever imagined. The diary became their guide, each entry a breadcrumb leading them closer to the truth, to the man who haunted their photos, and now haunted their waking hours. They followed every lead, every mention of the man's name. Newspapers, yearbooks, public records, each piece of information added another layer to his enigmatic past. They discovered he had lived a life shrouded in secrecy, whispers of aliases, shady dealings, even a brush with the law. The more they learned, the more convinced they became. He wasn't just watching them, he was orchestrating their lives, a puppet master pulling strings from the shadows. But their search for his current whereabouts led to dead ends. He had vanished, without a trace, leaving behind more questions than answers. Mary, however, refused to give up. She knew, deep in her heart, that he was still out there, watching, waiting. And she vowed to find him before he could hurt anyone else. They were faced with a terrifying choice: live in fear or confront their past, and pray that history wouldn't repeat itself. John and Mary embarked on a journey into the heart of darkness, a journey that would test their limits, their love, and their sanity. They were determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. John and Mary's quest for answers continues to this day. The man in the photos remains an enigma, a ghost from the past who continues to haunt their present. Some believe he is a harmless eccentric, others a master manipulator, a phantom who enjoys playing games with people's lives. But no one knows for sure who he is or what he wants. The questions linger, like the faint scent of lavender on a faded photograph, a chilling reminder that some mysteries are never truly solved. The man in every photo, a chilling reminder that the past never truly stays buried, and that some secrets are best left undiscovered.